All right, let's start with the Kansas City Chiefs beating the Los Angeles Chargers last night. I got to say, watching that thing from start to finish, that is about as disappointing a loss that you could have if you are the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, it's not going to crush their season or anything. It is week 2 after all. They're 1-1. Regroup, go forward. And I'll get to Justin Herbert's injury in just a second. But in a game against your division rival, remember, all the media over the last week was talking, okay, tonight, this is the game where the LA Chargers surpass the Kansas City Chiefs as the dominant team in the AFC West. Which to that I say, first of all, slow down. It's week 2. And secondly, you sure about that? Because what I said yesterday when I predicted that the Kansas City Chiefs win by a final score of 27-24, and what was the final score? I'm just throwing that out there. But when you've got a Kansas City team, are they less talented than the LA Chargers? Absolutely. Everybody talked about the Chargers got better this offseason. Chargers got a lot better this offseason. Kansas City really didn't make any big moves whatsoever. As a matter of fact, they traded Patrick Mahomes' number 1 wide receiver, Tyreek Hill, to the Miami Dolphins for 4 first-round picks. And so there are questions about Kansas City involving their skill position players, involving their offensive line, which was still young. Some even questioned Patrick Mahomes, which made no sense to me, but it's neither here nor there. But this was the game. LA overtakes Kansas City as the dominant team in the AFC West. And the first half, they played like it. Starting in that third quarter, 17-7 lead. We all saw the dropped interception by Asante Samuel. Yes, Twitter, it was not an interception. That ball hit the turf right as Asante Samuel was losing control. It was just for a split second, but when that ball is on the ground, Asante Samuel does not have possession. That was a good call by the officials. And Kansas City, as Kansas City seems to always do, come back from double-digit deficits. They go on basically a 20-7 run to win the football game. But if you're the LA Chargers, and everybody's talking about like the pick 6 and all that, here's to me the most disheartening thing about the pick 6 thrown by Justin Herbert at the goal line that got returned 100 yards for the go-ahead touchdown. Of course, Kansas City never gave the lead up from there. Here's to me what the most discouraging thing about that is. That one mistake, despite how well you played, cost you the game. We understand sometimes it literally can come down to one play in a football game. But when you play that well, you just look at the stat sheet here, right? Chargers, exactly 100 more passing yards than Kansas City. More completions, more yards per pass, right? Just not that many less rushing yards, committed to the run more first downs, more yards. You got to win that game. And instead they come up short, in part, because of the 100-yard interception return for a touchdown thrown by Justin Herbert. Add it injury to insult, Justin Herbert suffers a serious injury, which according to Adam Schefter, who reported it just about an hour ago about Justin Herbert, that it is a rib cartilage fracture, which it looked incredibly painful. We're seeing Justin Herbert. He had that 3rd down and 1 where he was like, he could have easily run for the first down. There's a wide open path and he's like just limping mid-play and just throws the ball out of bounds. Like, dude was in pain. They showed after the game when he was shaking Chiefs players and coaches' hands after the game. He was wincing every time he shook someone's hand. Like, dude played through it and still made some spectacular throws, both on 4th down. Like, Justin Herbert, I thought was pretty good last night. But that's to me what I doubted the Chargers this season for. That, to me, is in essence why I picked the Chargers to miss the playoffs. Because they had their moments last night, just like they had on Sunday against the Raiders, where you're like, good Lord, this team's talented. You see Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack flying all over the field. Derwin James is picking up Travis Kelce, right? You've seen the talent. Mike Williams made that amazing one-handed catch in the end zone. Austin Eckler, he's so hard to tackle. Justin Herbert, he's one of the great talents in the league. But it's those little plays down the stretch. It's those little things that Kansas City has perfected. And the Chargers time and time. It's a Chargers thing. As my man Ryan Flowers always says, the Chargers are going to be the Chargers. Like, they invent new ways to lose close games all the time. Don't matter who the coach is, don't matter who the quarterback is. Last night, it was outplaying Kansas City, dropping not one but two surefire interceptions and throwing a pick six late in the fourth quarter. It's the Chargers' execution. Execution late games is the number one reason that LA did not make the playoffs last season. Okay, that Raiders game, remember? It's tied going into overtime. Justin Herbert converted like 20 fourth downs. I mean, it was just like every single drive, Justin Herbert was converting a fourth and long, got the game to overtime, and we knew if the Raiders and Chargers, if that game had finished in a tie, both teams would make the playoffs. Raiders got the ball, 40 seconds left. If you're the Chargers, you're like, hey, just hang on to the tie and we win. We're going to the playoffs. And when the Raiders were going to run the clock out, Brandon Staley used a timeout. The Raiders rethought their strategy, decided to go for the win, and that was the end of the Chargers season. And I think Brandon Staley, too, is starting to hear the criticism a little bit in regards to not just the late game situation that got botched against the Raiders last year, but also the going for it on fourth down thing. Remember, we all talk about, man, Brandon Staley's going for it way too much. I think Kirk Herbstreit said last night he goes for it like 30. He went for it like 34 times last year, which led the league by a mile. How many fourth and shorts did the Chargers have last night that they decided not to go for? I mean, there were some situations where they're past midfield. It's like 4th and 2 or 3. And last year, I mean, Brandon Staley was going for it last year on like 4th and 5 at his own 25-yard line. You're telling me he's not going to go for it on 4th and short in Kansas City territory? I mean, there were some really, I almost wonder if he's starting to read the press clippings a little bit. So that's why I don't trust the Chargers. Is Justin Herbert a phenomenal talent? Yes. And by the way, I told you he would be coming out of Oregon 2 years ago. Always hang my hat on the fact that, this Justin Herbert kid, he's something else. But that one mistake, the interception at the one, which, by the way, you could argue probably wasn't even on Herbert. Gerald Everett was tired. He had just made a catch. He waved to come out of the game. Coaches kept him in. He ran a lazy route. Justin Herbert threw the ball to where he was supposed to be, and it got intercepted, went all the way for the go-ahead touchdown for Kansas City. But, Kansas City, how many times Mahomes pulled his magic? He had that little sidearm, beautiful throw. I think it was to Jerick McKinnon for a touchdown in the first half. It was beautiful. It's the play of the game, in my opinion, or the most exciting play to watch. But he was under pressure all night. The running game was up and down at times. And Kansas City still found a way to win because that's what Kansas City does, and that's what the Chargers do. That's why I picked Kansas City to win, because I figured it'd be close. You got two outstanding quarterbacks, but I trust Andy Reid teams more than I trust Brandon Staley teams, and that's what it came down to. Got a few comments here. In the corner is in the comments. It says, I really love Herbert, but people are crowning him and the Chargers way too soon. I won't take them seriously as a contender until they make the playoffs first. Grady. Okay. In the corner is Grady. I appreciate that, Grady. Good to see you in the comments. Let's see. There we go. Grady says, in pivotal moments, Staley coaches like a 12-year-old playing Madden. Actually, I disagree with you, Grady, because I've seen 12-year-olds actually manage the clock well in Madden. Like, I pointed that out with Mike McCarthy a bazillion times, or manage certain situations better on Madden. Now, obviously, coaching, playing Madden is a whole lot different than coaching an NFL game, of course, but understanding situations, understanding what needs to happen at what points in the game. I talked about this the other day with Nathaniel Hackett and how the Broncos butchered, the last minute of that game against Seattle. Like that is what separates the good teams from the great teams. Chargers are more talented than Kansas City. They are. They are a better football team, top to bottom, than Kansas City. But Kansas City's been here a million times. This is the same Kansas City Chiefs team that just 3 years ago, they were down 24-0 in the second quarter against the Houston Texans with 10 minutes to go. They went into halftime with the lead. They've been here a million times. This is the same Kansas City Chiefs team that a few years ago trailed by 10 with 6 minutes left in the Super Bowl against a great 49ers defense and still found a way to win the game. Like, Kansas City Chiefs remind me of a little bit? They remind me of the Golden State Warriors, my Golden State Warriors, your 2022 NBA champions, in case I haven't told you. Because despite time and time again proving, now Kansas City's not the dynasty Golden State is, obviously, but despite having an elite coach, an elite star player, and elite supporting cast pieces, time and time again, people seem to doubt them. And in these late game situations, who executes better? Like that's, to me, there's a lot of similarities between those two. And the Kansas City hate this offseason, I talked about this on Monday after they beat Arizona. The Kansas City Chiefs hate has gotten out of control. Now, I still have some concerns about their defense, but hopefully Steve Spagnuolo's an excellent defensive coordinator. Hopefully they can get that, sorted out as the season goes on. I think they play the Colts next week, and I think the Chargers play Jacksonville maybe. But we'll see. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube. Be sure to click that big red subscribe button and go check out the other clips and full shows of Carving It Up Live. Have a blessed day.